This is my podcast. Hello, my little dumplings. Welcome to another episode of Dan's Dump, your weekly pop culture digest. I'm afraid if you are not a Swiftie, I've done it again. This is a purely Taylor Swift related episode. I'm sorry about it. I should have made it a bonus one, but I'm not organised enough. However, I have a very special guest who has agreed to join me here today on the podcast. And we are going to talk about all things from The Life of a Showgirl, the album, to the Easter egging of Swiftoks, to fandoms and social media, to the Eras Tour documentary, the docuseries that's just been announced, and obviously to the Torture Poets Department getting added to the Eras Tour film. So there's a lot that we cover, and I'm just going to take it away. Okay, we are here today with a bona fide Taylor Swift historian, the king of Eras Tour roundups, an Easter egg decoder with an encyclopedic knowledge of teasers and clues. He's a Swiftoker, a YouTube star, musician, and all-round legend. It's Jonathan John Miller. How are you doing?
Hey, that's quite an intro. Thank you.
I had to step up my game up after the New Heights of Manhood podcast.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being on Dan's Dump, which I'm regretting the name so much. But
come on, there's power to it.
I'm not sure. I thought we'd start just with like some basic stuff about the new album, The Life of a Showgirl, because obviously we're here to talk about Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift only. I'd love to know what just get warmed up with what your best and worst track from The Life of a Showgirl is, if you're willing to share that information.
Yeah. I think my favorite song kind of depends on my mood. Like, all of this stuff is like my favorite type of music. So every day or moment to moment, I'm like, Elizabeth Taylor. And then 5 seconds later, I'm like streaming Opalite or Canceled. I definitely think that I've been going back to like probably Opalite, The Fate of Ophelia, and Canceled, probably, or Honey. Honey, I stream a lot.
Honey is so underrated. Like, I love that song so much.
It's plucked right out of the late 2000s. I can think of like a million songs that it reminds me of in the best of ways. So I just love it. It's also just a little message, you know?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think in her like second Lover era, if you want to call it that, it's a really sweet little. It reminds me of Lover in a way, just like less ballroom dance, more cutesy.
Yeah, and I think it's a good little lighthearted lift after Canceled in the track list, so it gets sort of its own little moment before the end of the album.
Yeah, because before the album came out, had you like claimed a track to be yours?
Yeah, towards the end, I sort of claimed The Fate of Ophelia because, like, I mean, pop music is my bread and butter. So, like, I knew the first few songs, especially, would be all bops. Like, this is an album written by my favorite songwriters of all time. So, you know, I've made 5 albums of my own. So I'm like, okay, track 1's going to be a bop. If it's going to be the single, I know this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like this is the best track 1 she's put out since Folklore, but also my favorite lead single she's done since for ages.
Yeah, for as interesting of a reaction as this record has gotten, I feel like The Fate of Ophelia has been universally loved as her first single.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even the haters are doing the keep it 100
Yeah,
to
right.
the land, to see this guy.
It's not too hard to learn, which is really nice.
It's just the hand bit, when it's like that took me about an hour.
Yeah, the crossing part is, I think, the most confusing. Well, because if you watch the 2 videos that she posted it, she herself does it differently.
Yeah, so no, she does, yeah.
People up.
Absolutely. I looked at about 4 different tutorials and was like, it will look rubbish. Who cares?
I know, right?
So what is, in terms of The Life of a Showgirl, you said it was your sound, the sound you love. So what would be your like top 3 Taylor Swift albums?
I've always said my favorite Taylor Swift albums originally before Showgirl were 1989, Lover, and Reputation. I love her pop stuff. I'm also like used to pop getting heavily criticized because it's accessible and all that sort of stuff. But I I love the escapism, and I love that each of her pop records represents something different. 1989, you have a lot of, um, anxiety under the pop shimmer. Under Reputation, you have a love album that's hidden under, these bad bitch anthems, and then you have on Lover, a lot of uncertainty, but also confidence. It's this nice balance, and so I think each one offers something different, and then there's Midnights, obviously, that has a lot of, I've been thinking about this one thing, and something's not adding up. And now we have Showgirl, which is much more of a fun, flirty, mischievous record that I think is just super fun. So I've always said 1989, Reputation and Lover, but Showgirl's making me question a few things.
Yeah, because like this album's totally made for you then, because that's just
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I claimed this album immediately. I was like, "No, you guys don't understand. This is the type of music that I live for." I was fully expecting it to get a negative reaction because that's what people do for every pop record she does. So, like when Midnights came out, I literally made a YouTube video titled "Midnights is not a bad Taylor Swift album, and this is why," because they were saying the exact same things this is saying now.
That's the thing, isn't it? And like, so I've not been a Taylor Swift fan for a huge amount of time. So Midnight's was my first brand new album
Oh, that's
rollout.
right.
So
Mhm.
we had like Midnight's Mayhem with me, and it was so much fun. And then I suppose I wasn't as in it then. So I only really saw like positive stuff from it. So then the Torture Poets department, I was like, oh, people are like being really hateful for not much reason. And this
Yeah.
time I've been floored because I listened to the album and then I went online afterwards and was like, have I had like a different album land in my Spotify or what?
Right? Yeah, when I did my live stream with everybody, everyone was, like, having a great time. We were all laughing and enjoying the new lyrics and beats and enjoying it, and then, like, over the next 48 hours, I was like, "Oh, some very loud people have some very loud opinions. Okay, let me see how I can navigate this."
Yeah, because it got to the point where I was almost fearful of like posting my usual post Taylor Swift album content because I
I
was like,
know.
am I the problem? Is it? It's me. Hi.
Am I allowed to, like now
I
I'm not
know.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think if, the streaming numbers are any indication, yes, some of those are people who don't like her that are just curious, but, um, if those numbers are any indication, then I think most of us enjoy it. It's just the people who don't are very, very loud.
That's the thing, because the whole narrative of like Swifties don't like this.
Yeah.
Swifties are coming out of the woodwork to say that, and like you're clearly wrong because 4
Yeah.
million sales is actually insane,
Right?
regardless of the myth of vinyl variants and all that
Mhm.
stuff. Like the demand is there, as has been
Totally.
explored a lot. The demand is there. She has completely built that demand
Yeah.
and lived up to it, and now she's smashing every single record. So we love it.
Yeah, we love it. We're having fun with it. And like, don't get me wrong, some of the criticisms that's like, um, well thought out and people are like, "Oh, this album isn't for me. I prefer XYZ record." That's totally fine. You're allowed to have an opinion. Like Taylor said, I'm not the art police, but I do know that, you know, through my own experience, pop music is one of the most hated genres, but people seem to love it. So, I just kind of usually wait until people that wave sort of subsides and then I'm like, "Okay, where's the real, you know, criticisms here?"
That's the thing, isn't it? Because I've been a fan of pop music forever, but
Yeah,
like a closeted fan, because obviously, like, it's not cool to like pop music. And I was
right.
like emo back in the day. I had the piercings, I had the sweeping side fringe dyed blue. I had it all
Where are the
going on.
pictures?
So deep down in Facebook that you'd need a warrant to get them out.
You need a warrant.
um, And but then I love pop music. So like when One Direction was a thing, immediately I was a fan, but I was like, I got teased for even listening to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's part of why my social media presence was like, I'm going to be really loud and obnoxious about liking cheesy pop music. And Taylor Swift became part of that. And I have no regrets. In fact, it makes me want to get louder.
I remember when you started posting about being like, "I'm gonna listen to a new Taylor Swift song," and, like, wasn't it Red Taylor's version,
It
right?
was just Red, and then
It was just Red, okay.
it was a complete coincidence, but it was like, thank God it was a coincidence because I listened to Red as my first Taylor Swift album, and it just happened that 2 weeks later, Red Taylor's version was coming out. Maybe I
That's
subconsciously like picked that up, but for like algorithm's sake, it was a killer.
yeah. That was a great, great timing on that one.
But total coincidence. But how
Yeah.
you've been a fan for like, have you been a fan since day dot?
Debut. Yeah. All the way since back in the dark ages.
I know.
Dark ages of
And
MySpace.
that's the thing, because I was going to say, like, as somebody who was a fan of One Direction at the beginning,
Yeah,
obviously social media forms such a massive part now of fandoms and of enjoying music and the whole experience.
totally.
And obviously it started with like MySpace, and then Twitter was like just huge. And now it's gone from text to video with Instagram. Obviously we had Tumblr in the middle somewhere, and like fan fiction, all of it. But how do you think like social media for the Swiftie fandom has kind of evolved over time? How has it kind of changed the experience of being a Swiftie for you? That's quite a big question.
No, it's a great question. Actually, I love it. For me, I've watched social media platforms come and go. And like you said, different platforms attracted different um styles of being a fan, right? Like for example, on Tumblr, when Taylor was active, there was this whole thing. I remember this rumor about how she was this evil mastermind, and she was like, she. It was when she had her Girl Squad thing, and like people were like, she's purposely doing all these evil things, and now that's sort of transformed in the rumors that they spread about her on TikTok. And so a lot of the things that I see are kind of repeats of the past, but one thing that I love about TikTok, especially when she finally joined the platform and launched, Swifttok, was that it was such a mix of Easter eggs and theories and new Swifties and since debut Swifties and people posting their rankings and listening to her for the first time. It was just such a fun mix of all these things going on. And she had so many different songs trending, like Enchanted was a big thing. A good and what a lot of people don't know or realize if they joined post Eras tour is that a lot of that initial set list is based on all of those viral trends that were popular on TikTok that formed the Eras tour set list. So when people are like, "Oh, I don't understand why the first version of the Eras tour set list is the way it is," I'm like, "Well, we all kind of made it. It's kind of our fault."
No, totally. Because I remember Wildest Dreams becoming,
Yeah,
she released Taylor's version of Wildest Dreams because of TikTok,
yeah. And
which is
so it was
crazy,
like,
really.
okay. Yeah, and being, in this time where Taylor owns everything and she did the re-recording project, and she's just been such a nice dose of escapism from a lot of, the terrible things that are going on in the world every day. Um, it's like, okay, I can escape into my Taylor Swift album and then I have the strength to tackle this big issue. You know what I mean?
No,
Um,
totally.
yeah. So it's been fun, but it's been very transformative.
Yeah, because I think I say this all the time, like pop culture is escapism. And sometimes I'm like, let the people have it. Like, you can be an activist and also then go home at night and listen to the Torture Poets Department just to give yourself a minute to grieve or to escape, or, listen to pop music to oh,
Totally.
have a party. And I just
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think people should be allowed that in whatever form that takes. They need to have that escapism, and like social media and fandom spaces is such a rich place to have that kind of, you
Mhm.
know, escapism, but also connection with other people that you can kind of make friends across the world and just forget a little bit.
Yeah. And like we shouldn't shy away from those hard issues. I mean, I certainly don't. There For me it comes in waves. Usually if I'm posting about Taylor Swift, I'm reposting something else that's not so Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but you do need those moments of escapism and lightheartedness in order to process life's terror. Um,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things I love about pop music in particular, is it provides that escapism.
Yeah. And also with social media, I think that's where I really miss places like Tumblr because it was just stupid fan stuff. And when you
Literally.
look at, yeah, and when you look at Twitter, obviously you had the fan spaces and it was very good at like just showing you that. But then suddenly you're posting about these fun things aside these horrendous things. And TikTok, I feel like really emphasizes that more than any other platform where you're scrolling and you get a Taylor Swift hot take, someone dancing to a pop song, and a horrific image from somewhere awful in the world. And then you've got some thirst trap. And it's just crazy, like going from one to the other. And I
It's
think
very
that's
jarring,
where, yeah, and that's where like fan spaces, I'm like, I miss Tumblr because it was just a pit of fandom, just
right?
ridiculousness, you know?
Just so many funny memes. So many funny
Yeah.
memes that live on to this day.
Yeah, it's
Like, Taylor
crazy.
Swift even mentioned in an interview recently, "Yes, whale," which is a video
I
that she posted on Tumblr. So, like, it's just
know.
it's but I do love
If
that
I
sense of community.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important. And I think the Eras tour, this is a little segue. I think the Eras tour really emphasized that sense of community because it brought it, and especially after things like the pandemic where everyone was shut away, it kind of brought everyone together. The Swiftie community and also Taylor became kind of a person again and not just somebody that you see through professional images on your screen. So how many Eras tour shows did you personally attend?
I only attended 2.
Me
1,
too.
oh, 1! 1 ticket I bought myself, and then 1 was a gift, from my mom and my
I love
stepdad.
that.
Yeah, it was a really big shock, but she was like, John, your content is doing really well. You need to be at that finale show. And by the way, we bought this like a million months ago before she announced that at Liverpool that was like going to be the end, and all the tickets skyrocketed even more in price. And I was like, hey, as long as you didn't pay that price, okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you went to the final show, which has now been, we know it was filmed at the time, but now we're actually going to get something with it. So what was your other show?
My
This,
other show was Seattle Night One, which is the premiere performance of No Body, No Crime with Haim.
there we go. Every
And
show is famous. There's that thing.
every show
Someone
is
says
famous for
every show is
something.
famous. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my surprise songs that night were Everything Has Changed, and then, This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things.
Oh, that's so
And,
good.
yeah, so if you ever see TikTok compilations of the Eras Tour and she's like, "There's no special guest, there's no one, it's just me," that's my show.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching that on a live stream, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
So, so now we know that this is the big news. We kind of like kept having a date penciled in for this, and then we were like, we've got to push it back just one more day
One more
for
day.
the announcement that was on Good Morning America.
We timed it
Um,
great.
we did time that so well. So there is going to be a 6-part docuseries for the Eras tour, the end of an era. Oh, it feels crazy. I feel like this is it now. Like the Eras era is ending.
Yeah.
TS12 is part of that because, as she said, it was kind of behind the scenes, what was going through her head during the show. So I feel like it's been like a big chunk of music because it feels like it started with like the Taylor's versions, maybe Midnight's, is where the Era's era began. Well, I
Mm.
suppose it started with Fearless Taylor's version. And then it's now ending with TS12. So it's been quite a big time. But from the docuseries, we've had a trailer. What kind of things do you want to see? What do you expect to see in this 6-part series?
Ooh. For me, um, well, a lot of what we saw in the trailer are all the things that I wanted to see. Her workout routine.
Yeah, big one.
Kinda what she did after we saw her disappear, at the end of the show when we'd see her one last time and she'd wave and then she'd leave the stadium. Um, being let into more of that intimate world. Um, just kind of seeing how the Eras Tour worked. I mean, she did a 3.5-hour show, sometimes a little bit longer depending on the surprise song set list or surprise she had planned. And, that's so much physical therapy. That's so much work for one person to do. Um, Especially at a time where in an industry that tries to age you out in your 30s, and she's out there making massive history worldwide. And, you know, I would love to see just her reaction to Swifties. Like, how did that make her feel at the end of the day, you know? Um, Getting bracelets, picking, the hat, the 22 hat, and just I mean, I'll take anything if I'm being quite honest. Just more of the Eras Tour that we get to live through, I think is exciting. And also, I think that by providing more of behind the scenes information for fans, I think it will make some people who don't really get how the life of a showgirl feels like behind the stage, or behind the scenes of the Eras Tour. I think this will help that because sometimes people need to see the behind the scenes information, or they need to know how something is created to get the mindset, and then they can hear it with new ears. Sometimes it's a music video that helps. Sometimes it's, a live performance, but as we know so far, as of this recording, there are no live performances scheduled. So it may be the next best thing for people to go back to the life of Showgirl, especially if she shows recording of it, recording of the album, then that may make people go, "Oh, wait a minute, Elizabeth Taylor." I get it.
Well, that's the thing, because obviously in the trailer that we've seen, there is a part where she's kind of taking off her fake eyelashes, which I thought was a nice little nod to the title track.
Right,
Um, and then there's like a bath running, the cat's there. There's like all this stuff going on, and she talks about how she's got to sign however many thousand of these things, and I'm like, that's a lot. Even in that like 10-second clip, we're shown a lot, and I'm like, I'm fully expecting there to be some of the new album interspersed, whether that is recording and making of, or she will show us something about the tour and then a song will play that kind of illustrates that was what she was going through or thinking at the time.
totally.
One thing for me that I would love to see, and I know she had those post-its on the trailer with all the songs written out, is I just want to see her put together the mashups and how she does
Right?
it, that whole
Yes,
process.
I would love to see that. I
Because it's
would
like
love
sometimes they made complete sense and sometimes it was like, how did she get there?
Yeah. It'd be really cool too if, like, at the beginning of the docuseries, um, I assume most of this will take place probably pre/post Tortured Poets Department. But it'd be really cool if there was any footage that they included from, like, the very beginning of, "Oh, we should do this song," or, the song selection of the set list, I think would be just really cool, even if it's like a 2-second clip. Um, Something about her pitch meeting to her record label being like, "So I'm gonna do a 3.5-hour show."
Yeah. And
You
and
know?
part of that is going to be a 10-minute song.
Yeah. Like, I would love to see just the whole process. I think it's such a like the trailer highlights, it's such a cultural phenomenon that any peek we get behind the curtain is, exciting to me.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy now as well in hindsight to kind of like weaken in our minds how many risks that she took with the Eras tour, because obviously the length of it is one thing, but also it's just little things like playing Tolerate It in a stadium world tour and doing that staging for it, and playing just the bridge of Illicit Affairs, and like what, all of that stuff. Diving into the stage obviously was a risk for probably her physical health, but
Totally.
you kind of, yeah, you underestimate it now you're looking back and you kind of forget. So it'll be fascinating to be reminded almost of just how many like moving parts there were to that
So
one
many.
show.
So many I can imagine.
And obviously part of the trailer as well was Taylor Swift showing us when she filmed in the stadium next to the A12 and then just walking on to A13,
A13.
which absolutely killed me. I was like, she is not serious right now.
I said back in July and August that, like, "Guys, you gotta understand with Taylor Swift. I know you all spent last year screaming as the crowd was chanting more, but, this is Taylor Swift. She always has eyes on a future project because that's what creatively excites her, you know? So the fact that that occurs around the 13-second mark and she's walking to A13, like, yeah, we know her number is 13, but we're also heading towards album 13. I'm not saying it's coming anytime soon, but this is the type of pre-Easter egg stuff she does, where it's like, hey, wink.
Yeah, exactly. It's like not at all subtle, but subtle enough. But I don't know. How do you feel about Easter eggs? Because obviously they make up a part of any kind of Swiftie content creators content.
Mm.
But there are a lot of Easter egg theories that get floated about, and obviously a lot of them have turned out to be true recently. Like the 12th album thing, no one really thought she was going to do a 12th album this soon, and suddenly it was like, oh no, the clues were all there. Where do you sit on Easter egg-ing?
I laugh at some of that because some of us were like, no, she was leaving the orange trails and it was red flags the entire tour. Um, for me, I think some of the Easter egging, um, I think most of it, excuse me, I think most of it is super fun. Like it's just people discussing about music. They're discussing about lyrics. They're discussing about an incredible artist. I think 90% of it is all in good fun. Um, I think sometimes the Easter egg goes too far out of the basket. um, But I sort of have a rule for myself, as somebody who's, been here since the beginning. My sort of rule is that if a theory is not harmful to Taylor Swift or the community, I kind of am just like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I could see that." Um, Even if I don't necessarily agree with it, I think it's still fun because people are talking about music, and that is just an incredible thing. But when it gets to some of the more harmful stuff, then I start to have to decide, okay, is it worth my time to I don't want to say call this out, but be like, hey, we've gone a little too far. Or is it just kind of not worth entertaining at all and just letting people who want to believe that stay in their own circle? And I think that's a case by case basis. But at the end of the day, I think the joy and excitement that people have for her artistry, which includes all of the eggs, um, is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah. What about you?
I think it's fun, and I think it's. I my rule is if I have to get a calculator out or write anything down, I'm not doing it. I'm not touching it. My other rule
We're not
is
far.
my other rule is if it's gone big enough and it would make a good punchline, I'm gonna end a video
Yeah.
with that. So like
Yeah.
I redid a recent video about it and I just at the end was like, so what's next? We're gonna get rep. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, it does feel like sometimes you don't let things breathe. But then you're like, people
Mhm.
will say, oh, she's just done this, give her time, give her space. And then she'll tease a 13th album a week after. So you're like, you know, there's fun
Yeah.
in it. And like I
Yeah.
say, I think with younger fans, I think they can sometimes look up to content creators and they really take things to heart. Um, and that's always unfortunate. But then everything needs to be just fun, lighthearted, taken with a pinch of salt.
Yeah. I think, you know, you make a good point is that, younger people can look up to content creators or different people who sort of, I don't want to say lead the Swiftie community, but are just sort of like pillars to pay attention to. Um, and I feel like that's where we run into issues is like Taylor is very specific about the way she does her eggs, um, both musically and visually and numerology, but um, numerically. But there's also certain ways that she doesn't. But the problem is that she's had so many of the weird, wild, and crazy theories. end up working out that a lot
Yeah.
of people can never really know. It's at the point where it's like, what if is well, it could, but maybe it's not. So I've kind of enjoyed that Taylor has gone on her little press tour and said that was not an Easter egg. That is an Easter egg.
Yeah, I love it when you look and you think, do you reckon they like retroactively made that work because
Yeah.
it was such a good idea? Yeah, 100%.
Well, like today with numerology, she's now occupied or she's been number one for 87 weeks, Travis's number, and this is her 13th number one in the US. So we have been 13, keeping it 100. I was like, how does that always work out for her?
I love that though. It's just like
It's
astrology
so
though. It's
cute,
just written.
right? Written in the stars, literally.
I love that. So the other thing about the big announcement today, the 12th all over the place, was the Torture Poets department being added to the film. How excited are you for that?
I'm so excited. I mean, that's my show on a film. So like I for a year have had all this footage on my phone of people, the cameramen getting in my way. And so now it's like, oh my gosh, we get to see it on the big screen and in high definition, which I think will be really, really cool. And it'll be fun to see it cut and spliced together.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. I loved the album anyway, but I think my favorite, it surprised me what my favorite sets were during the Eras tour because 1989 was like probably my favorite because it was so fun. It was such a burst of
Just a
energy.
party.
Yeah, and like Rep was obviously incredible, but it wasn't like a standout for me. And then Torture Poets Department again was just such a powerful
Moment.
moment on stage. And it surprised me because I thought the eras I thought that would be my best, like Fearless as well. Like I absolutely had the best time during the Fearless set.
I love
So
that.
I'm excited to see the Torture Poets
Yeah,
on
I think it's gonna
professional
be
film.
yeah, it's gonna be great.
Um,
And I love that the
so
Eras Tour film gets basically a sequel.
yeah, I love that too. It deserves a sequel.
Yeah,
I do want
absolutely.
to hear an explanation of why Long Live was cut. I'm not gonna lie. She owes us that.
Yeah, I mean, there had to be cuts somewhere. Every time I always make this joke with my audience when people are like, "Speak Now is so underrated." I'm like, "Debut didn't even get a set. Maybe take a seat."
Oh yeah, do you reckon she'll explain that in the documentary?
I would hope so. That's what I'm hoping because remember, every debut song, I swear, got introduced with, "Oh my god, you know that one?" Like, yeah, girl, some of us have been around 20 years.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if it was just a confidence thing of, we don't really know where we stand at this moment in time because everything's happened online. How much of debut do people know? Like
Yeah.
all of it, love.
I totally see the logic in it, even if I would have preferred one song.
Yeah, it's all good. We got the odd one on
It's
the
all
on the
good.
surprise
She's
sets.
over delivered on the Eras Tour and the Torture Poets and Life of Showgirl, the whole thing.
It's crazy. I know. I can't. It feels like a bit of a fever dream that we're getting this documentary because I literally had resigned myself to it's never going to happen. Um, there's egg on my face, but I'm glad to be wrong. And so this seems a bit crazy because we've just had another album. But after all of this happens, what
Mhm.
would you like to see next? Because some people are saying long break, go get married. If you want to have kids, boss up, settle down, make a wish list, you go do that. Some people, because she said, just because I'm getting married doesn't mean I'm gonna stop making music. That's not what happens. So then potentially another album will come 2 years, 3 years down the line. What kind of things do you see happening after 2025, I suppose?
I definitely think she already has an idea about her 13th album. Maybe she hasn't started recording it, maybe she hasn't written it. Um, I assume she does have a plan for telling us that her that debut is fully recorded and finished. And something with the rep vault, which I think gives her some time before her next record because I'm fairly certain her 13th will be very, very big. Um, but if she finishes out the next two re-records, then she does sort of wrap up the era's era and she can start her 13th album, the mega number for her with this fresh start. But I'm always open to whatever she wants to do. It used to be 1-2 years in between albums. So I think everyone did a really good job with the 8 months we had to deal with.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. What about you?
Just I don't really care. I know this sounds right because
I
I've
know,
asked you the
right?
question, but I am so like, if she wants to go on like a 6-year break, I'm like, you deserve that. Go to
Go for
sleep.
it, queen.
If she was like, I'm going to release another album in February, I'd be like, here we go again. I'd get my boxing gloves on and I'd be ready to fight in the trenches
Right.
against the second fan base all over again. So yeah, I just don't like the narrative. I personally am not a fan of people being like, oh, she's going to have kids. She's going to announce she's pregnant. Like, let's not do that.
I think Taylor has autonomy. She can make her own decisions. If she wants to have a kid, guess what? She could release an album the next day because she's just that way. And she also has that freedom. Or
That's
she could
it.
not have kids too until much later. It's really her own decision.
Maybe she'll have a child and that will be Karma. Karma Swift, middle name, the Lost album.
The Lost album.
And the baby will only wear orange. Maybe it'll have orange hair. Who knows?
Hey, she used the fire heart emoji for this one and not the orange one. So who knows? Maybe she still has another plan. Orange part 2.
That's it, isn't it? I love that. But I think we're running out of time.
Okay. Oh no.
It's gone so quick.
I know, right? I'm like having a great conversation.
It's just so fun. Is there anything else you would like to talk about specifically?
I mean, we kind of hit all the major talking points that happened over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, we hit all
Did
the
you enjoy the
marks.
film?
The release party.
Yeah.
I did. I enjoyed the making of the music video is like exactly what I want in any kind of behind the scenes thing. That was everything. The baking the bread, I really enjoy that. I think she's doing a lot to kind of rehumanize herself after being on this
Thank you for understanding
pedestal.
that.
Yeah, and I think the bread is a big part of that. And I really appreciate that she's doing it.
It brings her back down for people. Because, with the theories that pushed her all the way up here, just talking about baking bread, while I totally believe is something she would do, it also rehumanizes her a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of what she's doing, like the song explanations, the behind the scenes, the documentary, it's just nice to have that little bit of insight because, we can't have secret sessions anymore. She's too big for that. So
way too big.
This is what we can have as a window into her world. And I like that.
Absolutely. I agree.
But this was fun. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Podcast. Did you want to shout out your socials so people can check you out if they don't know you already?
Yeah, you can follow me at Jonathan Miller Music on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. Those are my most active platforms. I talk a lot about Taylor Swift, but I also talk about a lot of other music-related stuff, and I'm working on a new album, so.
Yeah, you make your own music.
I do.
So everyone go check that out. We can be in the Jonathan Miller
I am Jonathan Miller on Spotify.
There we go.
Well, all streaming platforms, but.
That was so much fun. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I basically want to turn this podcast into just having a guest every single week to talk about a fandom or a certain part of fan culture. So if you have any guest suggestions for me, please feel free to drop me a message on Instagram or just get in touch with me anyhow. And please also feel free to rate and review this podcast. 5 stars if you would, please. And subscribe and join me again next Tuesday where I will be, I don't know, I hope I get another guest. If not, it will just be me talking about pop culture, but we'll do what we can do, all right? Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Have a lovely day. I love you lots. Bye. That was my podcast.